Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be picking up where we left off in the last voiceover with the build in this really old and really nice house. It's old and nice, it has a lot of history. And today we're just continuing where we left off literally, and it's the same place, the same thing. Last time we've just done the hallway and we cleaned up most of the house but not all of it. Whereas now we'll get to the actual bulky decorating part where it's going to be going around, replacing floors, papering walls, and then doing the furniture. So right now what I'm doing is literally just that. Replacing all of the broken walls, plastering them if they need it, painting them if they need it, or wallpapering them when asked. And the bulk of these are just wallpaper, thankfully. From memory, I don't recall, thankfully, having to plaster any in this house. I do remember in one of them I had to plaster most of the house, so that was a nightmare in disguise. But the big thing about wallpapering rooms is how much paper you're going to use. And in this, I don't want to buy too much at first, because you don't know. But then as I'm slowly going through and realising, yeah, it's a lot of wallpaper. But we get there, as we do usually, and I just decide, you know what? Just buy more. If we keep running out, we buy more. And I just debate how much I think I'll need at this point, and think to myself, I'll just use up what I have and then calculate based off that. And at this point, that's literally all I'm doing. I'm looking at how many panels I might need, and I'm like, okay, another pack should do it. So I get another pack plus one, and that's literally my mindset. I'm like, I'm going to use 15 plus one, and that was my rough calculation because of how many angles and places. But no, I had literally one to spare, thankfully. So one entire pack to spare. So I was kind of happy with that. But you always keep the pack with you in case, because you don't know when you get rid of these doorways, for example, you don't know what type of doorway you're putting up. So it is actually a problem. And as I branch off into this room, I'm working out what it is that this room is having done. And a lot of it is just getting rid of furniture they do want and don't want. i.e. getting rid of what they do want by moving it out the way if it's in the way, by restoring it if necessary. Thankfully this place didn't have too much restoring work, unlike some places. And then for what's left of it, trying to just keep that mystique about this place. You know, the music sells the vibe as well, and it really adds to the character of the house too, because bear in mind, this is the house of a musician, supposedly, and all we're hearing throughout is this snazzy jazz music, you know, and it's selling the vibe. So yeah, and one of the things I had to figure out was what we were selling and what we weren't selling, and it was curtains that were left, a bowl, and a few other things, you know, vase and the broken door. And it was just a case of spotting the things, and I spotted them both in one go, and there you go. Easy enough. So at this point I decided to work out what flooring we had for this room and what wallpaper, and then I decided to put the doors up just because that made the most sense. And really I had an issue here with the doors. There is a development issue with the doors in that area. It wants more than one door there. It wants a Christmas door. Don't know why. So it didn't like me trying to put a door there, and I did it again and it worked. So it's a shame really. At this point I decide how much paper I need, and I just buy a load because I know I'm going to go through at least 6 packs. I already said to myself, look, I can't keep guessing how much it's going to be with this place. It's a giant place. Let's just get the paper out, put it on the wall, and then how much does it take to do one side, then do the other side. And what you really find out about this place and this place's mystique is that it's got a lot to it, you know, and you've got a lot of styling that they want. You know, they want to maintain this emotional attachment, right? They don't want me to come in here with a nice modern style, you know, knock out the windows, take the roof off, make it flat, put a solar panel on that. No, they want me to come in and respect what's already here and add to what's damaged and replace it by means of something similar. So that's what we're doing. We can't come in with a sledgehammer. That's just not what they want in anywhere in the house, to be fair. They haven't asked me to knock down a wall, they haven't asked me to blow up the house and come back with a modern build. They've asked, hey, can you please restore my grandmother's musician's house and make it a bit more snazzy and modern, but without changing the shape or feel. Fair enough, and that's what we're doing. We're basically putting up wallpaper that would add to that feel and the appeal therein, and yeah. Now, if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you may have noticed I haven't wallpapered one of the windows top side, but the build doesn't require you to do the top sides of the windows as long as you do the sides. The top isn't necessarily counted, so I got away with that, even though I just now noticed that, and that does bug me. And one of the things I always end up actively doing is putting furniture in and then finding out I need to replace a plug. So this time I made a proactive effort to replace this plug the minute I saw it, and to focus on doing the plugs before, you know, throwing in a load of furniture. Although, knowing me, somewhere in this build I'm going to have done that anyway. So at this point I had to work out the furniture logistics. There's a lot of furniture they want in this room, and I just wanted to see what it would look like if I put them next to each other, just for scale. And what I found immediately was I wanted to center this as much as I could to the room, while respecting that it can't be just crammed in, you know. And what I'm finding is this little cabinet, it has nowhere to go. It's a bit of a shame, really, because what this room is a place that has history, and the fact that I'm preserving said history is important. But there's a fine line between preserving history and filling a room like a tin of sardines, and I just felt like this was a bit too much furniture for this room while dealing with this rather problematic thing. And what I did in the end was just tilt a chair and put it in the corner, and I really didn't like it, but it was just a case of that's what's gonna be done. And I just went in with the couch, angled it slightly, try making it just slightly better, and even now I don't like it. It's a real shame, but really it's a case of what you do, how you do it. So I mean, you can see me here just trying to console some form of realistic standard, and when you realise what you've got to work with, a workman can't blame his tools or the environment all the time, but in this case I think I can blame the environment quite a bit, because the client wants so much in this tiny environment that it's either her fault or the environment's fault. So yeah, and then these plates, this china set, you know, I was happy I found a way to make this look a bit more natural the way it is, but the room is still crammed. But I was happy to make it work after thinking. And then we're on to this room with the problematic doors and the furniture. Now, you may notice it says buy Christmas door. Okay, so at this point I'm like, okay, we're buying a Christmas door. Straightforward. So get the flooring done, do that, and I'm just like, why a Christmas door? That's the thought in my head, and that's what I'm saying in the corner. Why does it want a Christmas door? And I'm just stewing about it while painting, just getting the idea in my mind that for whatever reason that it may be, that the client wants a Christmas door. So what do? Well, you honour the client's wishes. In this case, they want a door for Christmassy feel. I personally can't see how that makes sense. I wish the game had a way of you broaching design ideas like this with them and being like, I don't think this is how the house was. Because trying to preserve the house and then adding a festive door in the summer is a bit weird. Yeah, it didn't sit with me right. And I put the door where it was supposed to be. Installed it. And then I got my paint out and made sure to clean up this little bit here. And what I'm about to find out is that this room is technically not done yet. And that's the annoying bit that I'm going to find out in a minute. So, here's our wardrobes. And here I realise the second door. Now, I'm going to assume this room had a second door for that interior door there. And the dev made a mistake. Because both rooms want a door to be there. But both doors are different, as you can see, quite clearly. So it is a bit of a shame, but there's nothing I can do about it. So at this point I'm finding ways to install a door that makes most sense, and unfortunately there was only one solution. Have both doors. Now I could have done that by ruining the room, but instead I decided on having that interior door lead to an exterior point, i.e. behind me. You know, because you can't put it anywhere else, so it had to just go outside facing. And I wanted it, if it's going to face outside, to at least look somewhat reasonable, so we put it against that. And that's sadly how it is. It's a shame that the devs really messed the game up in this way. I was a bit annoyed by it, but I can only hope it's a bug and it's not like some silly joke or an error and not a bug, you know. It happens. So anyway, I installed the wardrobes and I debated how they should face, and I moved this one along a bit and I went and grabbed the other wardrobe, some space, and then I chose not to do that and to turn it with it. You know, even though I felt like this should be a mudroom, it just looked better lining them up next to each other than having them apart. So with that done, I just closed the door and went on into the next room. And in here I decided to clear the furniture. I was happy that that room was all it needed was a wallpapering, and I went into the Warzone kitchen, sorry. I must have coughed then, you know what I'm saying. This looks like a absolute Warzone kitchen. I'm sorry, but I don't mean like in a war, but as in like someone drove a tank through this room and knocked everything everywhere and then called it a kitchen. I couldn't believe for the life of me that somebody had done that to the kitchen that looked decent, probably at some point, and then made it into this kind of monstrosity. So it is a shame, but that's the kitchen for you. And getting to restore it was a bit of a joy in a way, because all those emotions about how it's been ruined went into how to make it better again. And I was kind of happy to see the list of items that were going to be used in here, because of the house, because of the feel. It just felt kind of right. But then again, Christmas doors, what is their obsession? I cannot fathom it. Why? It's like ruining the house. You know, they're going for Home Alone style, and that's one of the big problems with this. You just can't get behind it. You feel like you're in something from Home Alone in a way, and yeah. But then I noticed that we had to paint the walls a certain one and tile them. So I decided to work with what I had, allow for it to be white, and with the tiling, or beige, sorry, natural beige is the colour that's going to be used for the wall, so it made sense to use beige paint. And I already decided where the kitchen wall was going to be. It's going to go right up against this, and well, that's pretty straightforward. So I just tiled that entire wall and said this is the kitchen wall, and then painted the rest and said, yeah, straightforward, solved the problem. If only that was the case. I bought 2 medium buckets, thinking if I don't use one, I will get the same amount of money back, instead of getting one large and not getting the same amount back. Although this is now obviously looking a bit silly, it does make a bit of sense. So getting a full return instead of a small return because you've used a bit of it makes sense. So, and that's mostly how it works in real life. If you don't use a product in B&Q, but you buy it and you return it in a reasonable manner and time, it will be refunded. They're not going to say no, especially on trader cards, because they'll say, yeah, you didn't use the resource, give it us back and we refund you on your card. They won't give you money. No, most of the times they'll give you in-store credit if it's a trading business. But to me, it was my mentality. I was going with what would happen in reality, and probably in reality I'd probably bought 2 mediums for that value, and obviously it's not going to be called medium paint bucket, but you know what I mean. I bought 2 of them with the volume prescribed, and you always want to buy a little bit more than you need. Not too much more, but a fair amount. And I knew this room was not going to take a whole large, but I knew that it would take a medium and a bit more in reality. So it was just interesting to go over it. And once I'd realised actually the room was somehow acceptable, I was confused how painting these walls and not completing all the walls had counted as acceptable. So I just kept going, because that's just what you do. The client clearly specified a number randomly and didn't, you know, work out how many bits of wall they wanted painting, but that's fine. You know, I could have took it literal and not paint the whole thing, but we didn't. And now we come to the most fun part. I always start with my corners in the kitchen with the counters, because I find that it's a lot easier to do it that way, and I enjoy doing them that way, so it just makes sense. And with that said, it is just an easier way of handling these rather complex kitchens, and I do kind of regret where the tiling is when thinking about it, but I'm also happy where it is in a way, because of obviously the sink, the kitchen. It couldn't have gone any other way around. It was obviously going to be a corner kitchen, as they call them, so I accepted that it was going to be a kitchen with this hard to work with corner, and just moving stuff around to get it out the way to try and picture where this corner was going was somewhat important to me. And then finding out how big the actual corner is, that's something that was on my mind, but I was like, the main corner's in, it's just this one thing that needs checking. So yeah, I also decided that this should go on the end of something, so it goes right there, and then I get the corner. Curious to see how difficult this could be, and I have to move the whole unit just to test out the size and then move everything back in to make it all fit snugly, and that's just how it goes. Unfortunately, you have to be really accurate with these, and with this I chose to move that along, put the lovely cove there, and then adjust these as according. And that's pretty straightforward. We're just assembling these cabinets in a reasonable order. And at this point, I felt this should go over here and the code should go over there. Straightforward why. You can see the counters line up perfectly that way. And it just makes a bit of sense. And that's clearly been measured. So, and at this point, it's the curtains. Now, love them and hate them at the same time, because you have to assemble dozens of curtains in this game. And in one of the Let's Plays that you're going to see that's more recent, I had to assemble an entire office which had, I believe, 24 windows, all with curtains. In one room it was just 12 curtains in a row. So you're going to see that a lot as I put the stove on there. That's me trying to keep to the style. And then we have this lovely table, and I chose to go right for the middle of the room where the most space is, because there's no point cramming them in a corner in this room, and it's just going to give them that nice family dinner around this spacious room. I mean, I am in love with the styling and the tiles, I'll be honest. It is definitely something that is captivating for me. But what's more captivating was that this room we're in now was a bedroom. I can only hope this was for a maid. That is all I can say. Because then at least it would be somewhat justified. But we'll never know. It's just a game, you know. I will never know what the designers were thinking, and ultimately it doesn't matter because we're just building. So with that said, it's a simple adventure. We're progressing all the way through, and as we're working through this, we are expanding on it, and overall allowing for more of a depth understanding. So yeah, and while I'm talking about that, you can see me here adjusting the shelves, and this is pretty straightforward. I'm merely moving the shelves and then having the infinite paint glitch where it won't paint anything but dust. Trying to figure out why, and you just got to flick on and off of it from a tool to another, and then hope it gets it the right angle, you know, right timing. And in this case, I managed to get it working by aiming at the bucket and switching to it. But sometimes that doesn't work, and it's unfortunate. So, but that happens. Another thing to consider mainly is that of how you're approaching these rooms mentally. You can't allow yourself to get too attached, in the sense that over committing to it, like with every little detail. It's important to keep an eye on the details, but it's also important not to get stuck on one little detail. If you get stuck on one detail, that's really bad for you. You become less productive immediately, and it happens to be a fair bit. And it's about knowing when you say, okay, that room has had enough work on it, let's go somewhere else. And all that is you've done your best and the job isn't going the way you want it to. And that makes sense. It's annoying, but it makes sense. So in this case, it's just straightforward. I took the time to work out the paint, the walls, and then put the shelves in. And I can only hope that this room becomes one giant pantry full of all of these kids' toys, treats, whatever it may be. You know, one big storeroom or a pantry, just something better than a bedroom, because this couldn't be a bedroom in my opinion. It was underused, and that's the reality about it. And as I start looking at the first floor, I'm happy to say we've finished the whole bottom floor. And I do see there that the wallpaper is overlapped. And it's annoying. But the game isn't going to tell me the wallpaper type, so this is one of those details. Do I worry about it? The answer is no. Move along and leave it be. It's a bug, it's a glitch, leave it. So guys, with that said, thank you for watching this episode. The next part of the episode will be following this. You can click on it, be on screen now, and we'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.